innovations around FinTech is going on. But everything is coming to the mobile ecosystem or digital ecosystem. But at the same time, there is a lot of frauds which has started happening. Once you empower your consumers or your users, you enable technology. At the same time, there are cyber threats, frauds which has started happening, and I believe that a healthy ecosystem where innovations are happening along with the right set of cyber technology, security, frauds and compliances will make it in the longer way make it more successful.
Yeah. No, it's you touched on a couple of areas, right? CBDC, of course, it is enhancing, of course, from India standpoint. Out of 18 countries, India also in the race, and they started. It's not on the research. It started to deploy specifically on the B2B. They started. Now we are in the B2C also. Always, if you see UPI, I mean, from debit card when it got introduced, where we had a lot of challenges, right? And then debit card, of course, a lot of challenges. Then UPI, it's full of fraud, right? Similarly, the CBDC also just where we are forecasting like a lot of frauds and other things and all. Since you touched on the blockchain, like because the entire core system sits on the the blockchain based, right? So really, just I want to know maybe from Devipriya, I'd love to hear how this going to add value? Like what are the research area just you focus specifically since the entire economy, because it's like from India standpoint, we are planning $5 trillion, right? So just really we are looking how we are going to add values. At the same time, just we want to scale up across the global market, right? So how you find like in terms of your research on the blockchain area, and then how it is going to add in terms of CBDC standpoint.
Thanks for the question. It's a very interesting and fascinating topic from the academia point of view, because lots of research is going on creating and secure blockchain framework. So in IIT Kanpur, we have been able to create a blockchain framework where we deliver the mark sheets to all the IIT Kanpur students through blockchain thing. And the blockchain framework for crypto or CBDC, the Reserve Bank currency, is more or less settled, but the challenge is going to be on creating the crypto part of the blockchain, which is basically the public key algorithms, which are required to create an authentic digital signature, verifying that I am the person who I am claiming to be. Now, the public key algorithm, the PKI infrastructure, they are based on two main crypto algorithms known as RSC and ECC, electronic cryptography, and they are both going to be broken pretty soon once a good quantum computer comes up. So NIST in 2017 started this post-quantum standardization event, where it is now created two algorithms, NIST crystal Kyber and the crystal dilithium, as the signature algorithms and the key exchange algorithms. So it is very pretty important that at this point, if you are trying to talk about blockchain, you deviate from the traditional PKI and start integrating the post-quantum secure PKI infrastructure into your framework. Because otherwise, due to this phenomenon called store and harvest and decrypt later, where you store your data now, and 10 years after it, when it has a value, I can decrypt it with the quantum computer. So if we are making, the Reserve Bank is already making this cryptocurrency thing, it is very important in my opinion that we don't start or don't stick with the traditional PKI, we go to the quantum secure advanced PKI infrastructure. So that will be my 2 cents on this.
No, amazing. I mean, it's a key stuff, right? As I mentioned, like what are the technology you touch? Always there at the initial stage there will be a hiccups, and then in terms of what elements needs to be fit, and then where we wanted to move ahead. In terms of the key, the PKI also, it's very important, right? How you manage your key managements, how you take care of a complete stops also playing very significant stuff. So the other standpoint, right? That's just a very interesting one I wanted to hear, because just you were on FinTech at the same time taking care of all the CISO operations. Most of the FinTech, I mean, if you see the BFSI, under the BFSI where we have a FinTech alone, right? Even though we have a bank, why people get into the, the FinTech alone, right? It's like a young generation, so they are moving in terms of the lending, in terms of trading, in terms of banking industry. They want to get it in a minute. They don't want to go on the, the lazy process of documentation, signing X, Y, Z. Next, then that's what they are looking actually. But at the same speed, we have to have a look on are they secure enough? Because one side is the innovation, easy use, and it add value for the the day-to-day life. But other side, how you are going to balance the security? Because the speed of things you go, if you don't want to have a hump over there, absolutely it may lead to the the different disaster, right? So I'd love to hear from you in terms of how we are going to balance the both the standpoint.
Thanks, Navneethan. So, FinTech, uh, the speed, the brilliant technologies that are being used to enable that speed uh, are aimed at making life convenient for the ultimate consumer, and that's the way it should be. At the same time, it has to be secure for the consumer. A lot of times we believe that security is always somebody else's problem, and I just want to kind of list out a few of the top grossing uh, threats or errors globally that have been causing a lot of pain to people. So on one side, I would like to talk about accidental errors, system errors, third-party vulnerabilities, cloud misconfiguration. Everything is going into the cloud. Fintechs are mostly, I don't see there's any fintech which is not cloud-based. So cloud misconfiguration, these are on one side. On the other side, I also want to kind of talk about, physical security being compromised, actual thefts happening. Malicious insider continues to remain a challenge. Social engineering causes a lot of pain to people. Business email compromise continues to be among the top 3 threats. The other two being phishing and stolen or compromised credentials. Now, where I'm leading with all this, the ecosystem is such that while it is beautiful, brilliant technology, technology alone cannot solve all the problems. And some of the people in this room who've kind of worked with me before have heard me say this. Technology is the easy fix. At the fundamental level, technology is a 0 or 1. It is a very binary decision. Technology is easy to fix. Machines are easy to fix. It is the monkey behind the machine that is always more difficult to fix. So, when we are talking about stolen or compromised credentials, when we are talking about phishing, when we are talking about business email compromise, when we are talking about malicious insider, these 4 gross the maximum amount of loss in any financial system, actually global financial system. And all 4 are not machine based. They are not the technology based threats that we are dealing with. We are dealing with human behavior based, which is not actually using it. So as a CISO, I've always had this conundrum. Who do I hold accountable? And I think I would hold accountable both the sides of the party. Sorry. One, there is definitely an ever-growing requirement to increase awareness, but saying that is very easy. I think it is also crucial that all the beautiful technology makes security easy. Very sorry about that. I could get a super app that requires me to sign in 15 times on that same app. That app's never going to work. Or I could get an app that never asks me to sign in, and that is also never going to work. So what's that balance that we need to kind of find by doing some fundamental, I would like to go back to sound engineering to fix it from the start rather than to try and correct it later. Does that help? No?
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan, thank you so much. I think you covered a very holistic view of the entire things which is missing in the industry. even though we know that, right? I mean, the people used to say, if you are sleep early, get up early, have a healthy food, great ambience, your life is so good, right? Same way we have all the policy process, guidelines, standards, and then regulatory, but still, how people will follow, how we enforce. So that's play very significant role from, the end to end.
Absolutely. And I'll just make one more point. It's end of 2022. There's nobody in this entire conference who does not understand the requirement of complex passwords. That's the first gate that we have. And yet, the most widely used password in 2022 is password.
Okay, great. No, that's true actually. I mean, some extent, we may not require multiple technologies to break into the system. So it's a very lazy step if you follow that also easy to penetrate and get into that. And Manish, just interesting one I wanted to listen from you. See, where people are talking about CBDC, right? I mean, where the Bitcoin, the entire global is calling for just let's get into the legalized in terms of cryptocurrencies. It's like one of the things that's of course a Bitcoin, but a couple of other things it's gone into the bankrupt. And just a month back actually, when we are introducing our CBDC and all the things and all. So when there is a bankrupt, the CBDC also came into the picture in India. The people have a strong belief, yes, good that we are not gone into the such a systems. Now we have a centralized governance where whatever it is, the purpose is met in terms of transparency, speed, and cross-border. All the things purpose is met, but still we have people have agility in terms of how the technology works. Whether that will solve the cybersecurity issues and challenges, because whatever Nazir had mentioned, it is all bang on, right? The current trends, what it is, most of the industry is going through. These are the top 10 issues. But just coming to the new technologies, will it help to fulfill or remediate such a stuff? Love to hear from you.
No, I mean, I believe that CBDC is going to be the next, FinTech innovation, and a lot of innovation is going to happen around this. If you see CBDC, we cannot directly benchmark with crypto because crypto is separate and CBDC is highly regularized, and it is actually a token. It's a e-rupee issued by RBI. Now, there is a very huge ease of using it. Keep it into your wallet. There are banking apps which will be issued. There are 4 banks which are doing pilot around e-rupee. They have their mobile applications. You can keep money into your wallet kind of mobile application and can pay. And it's a legal tender. It's widely accepted. I have experienced it. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but I can keep a 1 rupee, 2 rupee, and 5 rupee, 10, 100, all denomination notes into my e-rupee wallet. The question is how we are going to ensure that it gets widely adopted.
True.
There are 2 fundamentals to it. In fact, I heard recently RBI governor and governor himself is saying that FinTech should take this lead. Earlier there was innovation work around wallets and all, but we can build multiple models around e-rupee. So certainly in terms of FinTech innovations, I see that 2023 year of innovation around e-rupee CBDC. Secondly, it certainly raises some concerns about frauds being happening. Even on pay wallets, if the frauds are happening, there are chances that wider adoption can lead to some newer terms of frauds happening around it. But the right set of security, right set of human element, what Nasir also mentioned about the kind of awareness which we have to create around using this e-rupee model, will be very, very important. And this has to be jointly done by the organizations like banking and FinTech which are doing this, that how to use this CBDC system.
Yeah, this is a two-way, right? I mean, you had about its adoptions play very significant role, right? If you take the UPI, I was in a payment gateway. Like most of them, just we look the credit card is a one, just it's a the highest hit in the this India standpoint. After UPI came into the pictures, those two it's completely gone. Really, I'm not sure how many of you carry your wallet. Yeah. Definitely not, right? Just you carry the mobile. That covers all your facts, credit card, debit card, whatever you want. Just you make a payment on that. But this adoptions take a lot of time, right? Because the people have a fear in terms of the security standpoint. Like really the systems, we are not sure how it is operate, how it is connected. From the end user standpoint, I'm trying to say, because as RBI released from a retail standpoint, just I would love to know your views.
We are working with, in fact, Navneet, and multiple banks and ensuring their, CBDC apps are secured. We are implementing our technology. So these CBDC apps are secured in the sense that all those RBI regulations, RBI issued DPSC guidelines, digital payment security guidelines for mobile banking apps, and they have catered to it. And it's a very comprehensive guideline which talks about device security, which talks about network, mobile application security. And even from the malware perspective, that if there are malwares on the devices, it should not be impacting the mobile application. So from build perspective, I believe that this is going to be highly secure. From the backend perspective, it is based on blockchain technology, no doubt, and each and every transaction based on the blockchain is going to be covered. So this is the responsibility of the bank to ensure that where this e-rupee is moving, and in a and it is not going to be disclosed to everyone. There is some transparency to a limited level will be issued to the public. So from the backend perspective, the way we have understood it is very safe. From the mobile application perspective, because of the technology which is getting integrated, it will be handy to the users. All we have to ensure that the end user who is going to make use of this application's e-rupee system should also be taking care while using it. If there is a a fraudulent QR code and somebody is making a payment, the bank may not be responsible for it.
Yeah,
and
so
that
this
comes
is
under consumer awareness.
yeah, no, absolutely. So this is why I asked this question is maybe I'm not sure you're part of many Telegrams groups and then WhatsApp. That's a many scam. It's happening. It's specifically on this sector. Like if you invested like $100 tomorrow, you will get it as a $200. The people might not be aware like what is the technologies behind that. They might be used to for 1 month, but after 1 month, it's like a chit fund. How it is happened in 2000 series, right? The same thing it is happening on.
I will give you one example, a practical example here. The whole banking ecosystem is full of any desk related frauds. Every day in the newspaper you will read about it. Somebody took control, screen sharing using any desk, okay, and asking the person, the customer of the bank, to do some transaction on the mobile application. Right? But now with latest technology, mobile banking apps are capable to give an alert if there is an active screen sharing. We have some data points like the screen sharing sessions were identified as high as 1% in few cases. And now with the right set of technology, it has come down to highly, very, very minimal. And users are aware now there is active screen sharing and somebody can do some fraud. So tech can enable, at the same time, as I always say, human element.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that. I think some of the new work that's happening by elements who are doing this is actually fulfilling a CISO's dream, and which is to make security easy and not difficult. So taking the pain of identifying whether your phone is running malware or not, no problem. This app does it for you. The thing is happening in the background. Is your screen getting recorded? You're told that it is getting recorded, and you still have the potential of trying to kind of stop it from happening. Is your phone running a proper version of stuff? No, it is not, right? And this is the problem that you might have. So this is X, Y, and Z are the actions that you need to take immediately to keep yourself secure. Now, those are things which are enabling the human being to not fall victim to technology related frauds. And I think that is one of the key points or key ways to move forward.
Yeah, great, Nazir. Therefore, just I love to hear from you. It's like a couple of key stuff, right? In terms of money stole, the technology, and then I should mention like in terms of the people element. Now, if you see the people element as well as the technology is driving the entire the industry, and most of the things on the cloud, right? Because you want to have a scalability. Like if you want to try something, plug and play. If it works, that's fine. If it doesn't work, just pull out and then plug in this other component. That's been so dynamic and so ramping up in terms of the the business side. So now just people are introducing in terms of the zero trust, the architecture and then concepts, right? So how by combining the technology as well as by combining specific to the human element, how the zero trust model will help to minimize the threats as well as to counterpart the respective attack on that.
So zero trust is actually something that we crypto people always talk about in our classes, that you do not trust anyone, you assume everything is known apart from the key and that's it. So in infrastructure, zero trust basically means that you don't trust anyone without verifying. So in a standard framework, zero trust basically means that every entity that is being involved in your transactions, in your communication, there needs to be authenticated, there needs to be verified, and then only you share the data with them. Now that comes with the challenges, okay, and educating end users about this is going to be a very difficult problem. On the other hand, there could be also a very quite extreme solution where you compute on the encrypted data. So we call it homomorphic encryptions, where you store data in the cloud and in an encrypted format, and you doing this all the computation. For example, so you want to search someone's name in the cloud. Currently, we decrypt the data, we search the name, and then we again encrypt it. While decrypting your data is like available to the cloud, and they can access it, they can read it, and it is up to them what they want to do with that. So now if you can search in the encrypted data, then it would solve your problem. So in the crypto, we have solutions, albeit with some penalties on performance and time. I guess that's an issue in the industry. But from a security perspective, you can compute the encrypted domain. People are learning ML algorithms, which I guess could be of some use in a FinTech innovations on the encrypted data. So, but that would come with some penalty, and it is up to the FinTech people who are doing these innovations. What is the penalty? And one solution could be that to do this kind of very secure computations only on the critical data that you really want to protect. And there are some data which has low threat level that you can do with a standard computation.
That's really great. So it's a key point just you have mentioned, right? In terms of specific to the database encryption, just you want to have the multiple role-based one, which is really it is required and specific to the the FinTech. And because just where we do the complete encryptions or complete decryptions, really just we want to have a based on the table or based on the column, based on the the row, where who can fetch and what. The role level should be mapped to the that level in terms of the encryption, and then
privilege level you can assign to privilege level, and you can assign different threat levels to different data, and you can create secure, very secure framework on that. But again, with aesthetics, performance may little bit suffer due to that.
Amazing. Thanks, Prem. So a couple of key stuff. Right now, if you take this a FinTech alone, where it is completely integrated, I mean, any of the one really just we cannot segregate what you have in your mobile, what you have in your laptop. It's a purely official or it's a purely the personal one. It is completely mixed environment. Similarly, if you take your organization, when none of the CISOs and then CIO, they cannot tell that like how many vendors I have it, how many vendors, each vendor, how many people we have it, each vendor, what are the application they have access, each application, so what is the level of access they have it. It's very difficult, right? It's all mixed. That's on the vendor side. Now, since a FinTech is coming to the pictures, if you want to build the product, if you want to deliver the product, not only my engineering product alone won't work. Really, I need an ecosystem. I want to plug in multiple product into that, then only I will get the output what I wanted to have it. So that's why supply chain attack, it's really huge. That's the one it's going to drive this entire world. So it's a positive way, that's the way on the negative side also. So maybe how you find Nazir, like in terms of supply chain attack standpoint, like what are the things it's really we are missing? Supply chain or the maybe vendor or maybe you can talk on the API. Just I'm connecting all the dots.
All right, so that's a very big canvas. But when I bring it down into just fintechs, I look at it from the perspective of there being two kinds of fintechs. One are standalone banks or digital banks, and the second are financial aggregators. Now, there is no fintech worth its name which is not a SaaS service. And these SaaS services are all integrating with each other. Today, the main medium being APIs. Now, I don't know when qualified, easy, cost-effective blockchain solutions would come along. They would eventually at some point in the future, but till then, the main medium of interaction is going to be, and it is today, is APIs. So if we look at APIs, the challenge that we have with APIs is at two levels. The first level is at an individual API itself, and then at an aggregated API gateway level. So if we look at, again, when I break this down, if I look at an individual API level, how well designed are our APIs? An API is not just a data feed. I'm sure you all will agree. It's a very specific microscopic ask for a particular data element. Now, when let's say Manish issues me an API and he needs only my phone number, why do I have to give him my mother's maiden name, my date of birth, my address, and all that stuff, right? So microscoping the scope of that API, I think, is absolutely critical. The second aspect is authentication. And I think I'll talk about an incident that happened, I think, less than 4 weeks ago. It happened in Australia, where one of the large financial institutions got impacted by what was initially called a highly advanced cyber attack, but really turned out to be an exposed API that somebody forgot and that had no authentication, right? Now, the perpetrator found this API, and the API allowed him to download one record at a time, right? One record. He did that. He downloaded one single record. The only thing is he replicated that 7.5 million times, right? So what is happening here? I talked about that individual API. The first problem, we don't know what is in the API universe. So we need to get a handle on what exists in our universe. It's not just APIs that we are exposing to others, but APIs that are exposed to systems internally, right? Second, some fundamental requirements on authentication. Do we need auth N? Do we need auth Z? Is there a specific material or elemental authentication that we need to do? Then how are we storing a list of those APIs? APIs in the engineering world are meant for reuse, right? So people grab an API, sorry about that, re-engineer it a little bit and redeploy it, right? So where are we with version controls on those APIs? Because with a little bit of re-engineering, the second version of the API could be doing something vastly different from the original API. Then where are we limiting or rate limiting or monitoring the API at our gateways? So if an API, this particular API was supposed to give one record at a time, there was no rate limitation at the gateway that prevented it from running that 7.5 million times over. I think those are things that we need to be looking at, both from a creator perspective as well as from a consumer of API perspective.
Yeah, that's just maybe if you talk about these things, Norman, you have given great insights in terms of the inventory of API itself. It is a bigger challenges, and then of course authorizations and authentication, so that's a play very significant. Again, it's a monitoring of those APIs also make the great impact. Awesome, Nazir. Just since he had Nazir has opened up, just I would like to hear from you. See, now the technology is completely changed, right? Earlier, if you see this, 5 years back, enterprises techie and tech savvy, that's more than enough. Now it's not the case, right? I mean, everybody's hold the computing engine on their hand. It has absolutely changed the game, and they also part of the ecosystem. Whatever it is happening, it's happening from their end also. It's not only on the the server side. So really just love to know, like in terms of cybersecurity side, what are the challenges, and where are the cybersecurity control lagging, which lead to the cyber fraud at the end user computing, like maybe just to throw some lights, like what are the things where we would have done it, and then what are the positive stuff which is happening at your side.
Nashir was talking about APIs, and we it's a connected vendor ecosystem now. If you will talk about fintechs are also taking multiple services from third party, whether it's KYC service, business service, or API to access a bank account, or for cyber security purpose. And this is kind of interconnected world totally. So third party risk management is going to be very, very critical. We believe that API is the next level. The first level is your web application or your mobile application, your front end to your customer. That has to be properly secure so that you mitigate maximum risk at that level, and it also assists organizations, especially fintech, to control frauds. If I talk about some consumer data, and like last month we have done some 150 million mobile application sessions. We have we have seen that more than 20 million sessions have some threats, which shows the high amount of threats into the mobile ecosystem. On an average, in India, 9% of the mobile app users, Android users, have developer option on as one of the setting on their mobile device. This is absolutely not required. Developer option is meant for people who are doing Android development or who are doing some kind of cyber security onto their devices. But by default, by OEMs are also sending this developer option as on, and people are really not aware of it. This brings back the risk back to the organization, whose mobile applications are installed onto those devices. So this is just an example, but organizations have to ensure that okay, I know this can be a risk, and how we can go and mitigate it. Similarly, I mean, if you will see the high amount of access being given to different kind of mobile applications, we have mobile apps asking for a number of permissions of your device. Very commonly, and people asking for read package. Why we need to have a read package access given to mobile applications until unless it is really they need to know what are all apps running on your device. So such kind of permissions related data going back to the organization, or some mischievous settings on the mobile phone, or the unsafe settings, I should call it out, is leading to a lot of frauds happening, lot of threats going back to the organization, and this has to be carefully handled, especially in the Indian scenario where we are becoming mobile first economy.
Yeah, the mostly just like I mentioned, like specific to, like, if I'm installing calendar on my mobile, why they need access on my storage, why they need access on the camera, why they need access on my GPS location. It's may not required, right? It's a contextual based the things which may not happen, that may lead to the major threats. And most of the things, like if you see not in the laptop, right, not on the servers, like most of the data lies on your mobile itself, which has all the statistics, right, what you buy, what not to buy, where you are, around that what are the commercial where I can give, right, that itself it leads a lot of stuff. Since you touched on those things, really love to hear from Devapriya. See, the environment is just so dynamic, right? If you take the the cloud environment, what Manish has mentioned, like at 10 o'clock I have something, and 10:01 I can change the entire architecture, not like earlier. Earlier, if you see, if you want to buy a servers, we used to buy from Singapore. It takes close to 45 days, clear the customs and all the things and all. We had a great celebrations, that time. Now it is not like that, right? Any application I want to bring up and then bring down, just a matter of seconds, I can do whatever I want. So the scalability is high. The same way, the risk also it's very high. Really, this people might not know what is the servers. I have it in current posture, current situation. So maybe after some time it may change. Similarly, the threats also keep changing. So we have a known threats as well as where we have a lot of unknown threats. So how we can detect, how we can control, first of all, how we can detect is the first key points I want to know, and second one is how we can control such a dynamics environment as stable enough, how many, controls we can enforce to ensure that things are taken care, even though you have a dynamic environment.
So the thing is, attackers are always like one step ahead, all of you. So like what happens is that I would talk about a potent threat called malwares, ransomwares, which have impacted the industry for the in different aspects. So now the malwares are there, and you can create some sort of mechanisms to do something after malware infection has been done to recover data. But what would be more important would be that if you can monitor your system. So active monitoring, doing like active crypto audit or crypto agility kind of analysis is very important at this point. I'll just give one example of malwares that malwares are there. So researchers come up with an ML-based solutions where they develop like these features are there, I will detect the malwares. Then the attackers can come up with new ransomwares which will trained to using ML only to train to mitigate or to bypass all those known features that we have been using. So like actively monitoring your system status and just not thinking that, okay, I have created these security policies, so I am secure, it may not be secure. The security policy that you are thinking it is secure was secure maybe 2 days back. With a new attack, it may become not so secure at this point. So actively monitoring your status of your security system is very important, and then only you can create some sort of 3-step alarm if something malicious or something fishy is going on.
No, it's really amazing, right? I mean, in terms of how you are monitoring the dynamic environment does play a very significant role. And on top of the dynamic, just you mentioned like how you want to make it as an active systems and an active component, active applications that also makes the huge impact. So just before concluding, just allowed to hear any other questions so that I can summarize and then take any other questions from anyone. Awesome. So it's like we had covered a couple of key stuff. Really, thank you so much. I learned a lot in terms of from the end user standpoint, what are the issues and challenges, and what are the things you do as those organizations, how we can do the the mitigation stuff. And as a standpoint, we had covered the entire holistic of all the door, including the physical security, from end to end, how it is going to add values for the organizations and where we are missing from end to end. And from David Priya, just really, thank you so much in terms of connecting all the research standpoint, what you do, and connecting dots to the, the respective, this organization. This is, it's more of the trust, right? How you are making the trust, it's playing, the important role in the, the respective organization. So before reaching the trust, really, we want to know that how the trust is strong enough, right? For that, just we want to ensure that the control is enough and then effective enforcement of control is, taken care or not. So when compared to the the fintech and then cybersecurity, really we want to have a balanced one, right? If you see the people now, the young generation before joining the organization, they are asking like, are you allowed all the social media? I want to have access to the USB. I want to do just whatever. I want to have a complete Netflix. It's open questions they asked. I want to have a Netflix. All the things also. We cannot say that like earlier, right? I will block all the things. No, straight away the offer also declined. So we will open all the items. But only thing is we have to build the ecosystem which will detect and prevent on such a cyber attack. At the same time, it will help you to move ahead in terms of scaling of the the business. So nowhere we can stop the the business because of the technology. At the same time, we cannot stop this innovation also because of the lack of controls which supposed to be enforced. So which needs to be balanced to add values, and then always the cybersecurity is an enabler for the the fintech to make an impact and to reach like $5 trillion economies of India. So thank you so much, leader, and really amazing. Learn a lot, and looking forward to collaborate more. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.